Doo-doo-doo-doo. Alright, malt liquor video, and this is going to be probably the best decade of my life in many, many ways, because it kind of formed who I am now. And it could have gone either way. Malt liquor. So from 20 years old to 30, and this is gonna, like, it's not really one decade kind of like blurs into the next, but they're like completely different times of life. So let me just 20 to 30. All right, so where we left off was I have moved back to Portland, get a job, stay with family, get a job with family. Go to move to Maui, which I thought would be fun. I had a relative there. Things did not work out, and I came back home. And when I came back, I dated a woman in my late teens in high school, and she was going to move to Portland. And we decided to hang out and do stuff together. And we were in a car accident. A pretty serious one. Meanwhile, as I'm recovering from the car accident, looking for work, and I go get a job as a bike messenger. Now, I did that bike messenger job for about 10 years. Give or take. And stayed with that woman, her name was Tori, for almost the entire time as well. Quickly about the bike messenger stuff, it didn't pay much. I enjoyed it. It was like exercise, it was like adventure. I was healthy, full of life, strong, and it also set the hook and into the love of cycling, which pretty much changed my life, changed who I was as a human being, really. And also, I was a dispatcher there for several years, and I enjoyed that organization. Wasn't necessarily very good with working with people, but classically a dispatcher, especially a dispatcher that mostly works with young people, a lot of social niceties are not necessary. Do it because I say so or you're fired, basically, is what it comes down to. All right. Then the relationship with Tori was kind of interesting. She had came from a family that I think kind of overwhelmed her. And then she went to college to be a political science major and got into sorority. And I think the sorority kind of overwhelmed her. And when I got the job as a bike messenger, I believe she got a job at a law firm. And I think continued to do that pretty much. She switched a couple different jobs, more so towards the end. And we had an interesting dynamic. I was like, back then, I was like, I took no shit. I took a lot of shit in some cases, but I was like, I never gave up on anything. Like, so I would take some shit, but I would be dealing with that until I won, you know? And I was that about everything. Like, money was so tight, and I was just like hyper focused. And also, like, I forgot about the accident. So the accident paid off with enough money for her, because she was injured, for us to put money down on a house. And we bought just like a little bit more than we could handle for our skill set, how much money we could earn. So we were pretty much living paycheck to paycheck for that entire decade. Mm. Well, anyway, I learned a lot about relationships, made a lot of mistakes, and during that time, though, I got involved in Taekwondo and ended up earning a second degree black belt, teaching in schools, opened up my own school. I also rented studio space and hired yoga teachers and had a yoga school. It was really great. I saved up money and rode my bike across the United States, Oregon coast to New Jersey coast. I took a trip over with one of my bike messenger friends to Greece to see his sister's wedding, and biked from Greece, Athens, Greece, to about Shannon, Ireland, where I stayed for a couple weeks near there. And on that trip I met a very pivotal woman. Her name's Christy, from Australia. And it was just like a brief encounter. And I don't know, like, probably more to say about that later, but basically it's like cycling everywhere, cycling across the United States, cycling across Europe. All my vacations were cycling the Oregon coast, cycling to the Oregon coast. I once cycled to the Oregon coast and back in the same weekend, and I felt perfectly fine. I think what I remember most about 20 to 30 was just being highly engaged. Back then, like, I could have like a party at my house, like fill my house. I had like this 2-story house, like, well, a 1-story house and a big basement, big front porch, and the place would be full of people. Mostly bike messengers and whatnot. Biked everywhere. I was really, really social. Went to parties. We took trips to the coast with friends. Like, we'd caravan out there. Just hyper social, hyper active. Exploring what I could do with bicycles. Maturing as a person, and going through some like strong constraints on like how much money I made, how much money was going out, that I learned to be like really frugal and live simply and enjoy things that were free. And where this kind of comes to an end, roughly, was when I came back on my trip from the United States. Tori, my girlfriend, completely different person. Something happened. I don't really know what, but I spent like a year and a half living with a woman that I'd spent almost 10 years with as a roommate, with almost no communication between us. And after a year and a half of that, I was just like so utterly miserable. Probably the worst time of my life, actually, combined in the best decade of my life with those like the worst moments of my life. I realized my health was being affected. I was deeply, deeply, deeply unhappy, almost chemically unbalanced, actually. And eventually I just had to walk out, leave that house behind. And actually that house was probably worth a fortune, too. But back then, all I could think of was I needed to save my health. And I didn't really have anybody watching my back then. I didn't have any close friends or anybody, like family members, saying like, oh, you guys should sell the house, divide up the money, and then go your separate ways. No one told me that. So like the whole idea of like walking away from a massive investment like that, not a single person mentioned it. So that's what I did. So an amazing time in my life. Really formed me. One of the most painful moments of my entire life. Probably wounded me forever, but Not in a way that I'm carrying baggage around. Just that it's one of those things that you heal from, and then you heal from, and like what I think I take from it is like not fear, but actually like I'm never going to, in a job or any other situation, hang in there longer than I have to. You know, hang in there longer than I'm like, this is definitely a lost cause. A year and a half waiting for somebody to talk to you. You don't wait a year and a half for somebody to talk to you. Not at all. All right, 20 to 30.